was something about your profile pic that reminded me of my best friend growing up.
I felt validated, loved, seen.
I'm liking this.
Me too.
There's so many things that I can do, you know, that I'm looking forward to doing by myself.
Thank you, Henry. Thank you for sitting here with me.
I'm curious, the inception of this idea and the idea of making it a mockumentary. This is kind of one of those popular trends right now. This is the whole idea of it. Was that where it was born from, or was it born from the idea you want to make a mockumentary and you just subject? How did this all come about?
You know, at the beginning, I thought I wanted to just kind of do scenes, you know, between Henry and his rental clients. And then I wanted to find a way to really explore Henry's inner life, you know, what his motivations, his own needs and wants, what he has been through. And I thought the mockumentary was the perfect way to explore that while having a kind of a comedic element, you know, not to be too serious. And also, the whole point of this project is also these filmmakers getting together and growing with Henry as well. They're kind of just like starting out filmmakers, you know, and experimenting with like different filmmaking techniques. And, you know, and you really see that growth from episode 1 to episode 5. So I thought it was just like the perfect way to explore his inner life. And, you know, this project also came about from my own desires to connect with other filmmakers. I was in a time of my life where I felt really isolated and lonely. And, you know, here I am in this Los Angeles with all these creatives, but I didn't know how to work with them. And so I wanted to just do this project as a way for myself to be able to connect and have a connection with people. So yeah, that's the whole mockumentary. It's just like, we're all in this together. Let's make something and do something fun. So
there's certainly some conventional elements to recognizable aspects of the mockumentary process and obvious comparables, but you there's some interesting choices that are made in here too that I find fascinating, like going wide quite a bit. That's an interesting idea, because most of the time you either have that medium shot or a very close up aspect of it.
What we wanted to focus on is this authentic interaction between two people, Henry and his rental friend client. And the environment is also very important, the environment in which they exist. We wanted to incorporate all the environment. Though it's a rental friendship setup, how do two people, quote unquote, hang out and spend their time in this environment? And then another reason we made this choice is because you know, when you're starting out as filmmakers, you know, you start doing the wide shots, right? That's the beginning, and then you kind of focus more on the you know, your close-ups and different coverages. What the idea is, throughout each episode, the shots do get closer and tighter. In episode 4 and 5, it's the first time where they actually let's experiment with like over-the-shoulder shots. Let's experiment with like close-ups. So in episode 5, you know, the one that you saw, like, finally you see them finally experimenting with the close-up shots, you know, capturing their emotions. So we wanted to play with these different things, but you know, them being in this environment, and really when we're shooting it, we're like, yeah, we have a script, we have a beginning, middle to end, we know what the moments we want to hit, but also let's replicate just two people coexisting in the environment. And that was really important for us.
The other aspect of it too is you're pulling back the curtain a little bit. You're showing how the sausage is made a little bit by putting the filmmakers on screen. Well, you know, maybe not on screen, but involved in you know, behind the scenes of what we're actually viewing, and that's an interesting choice for me as well. Talk a little bit about when you thought that was that organic, or did you guys kind of plan?
Some of it was planned and some of it was organic. And you know, the ones that were organic were actually the most real, most authentic. And we wanted to keep it. And then, you know, my co-director, Harry Parker Elder, like shout out to him as well. He really created this fun, spontaneous energy on set where we said, hey, let's pretend like we are these amateur filmmakers making this, and if something goes wrong, if the boom is in the shot, whatever, feel free to say, get the boom out of the shot, like basically everybody on set, the crew, everybody was part of this collaborative effort, both off and on screen. And the last shot, which is one of my favorite shots, is Henry hugging the co-director and also Sherry, the assistant director, because this whole project is about this man who wants to fight his own loneliness by renting himself out to other people who are wanting connection, but also this project, him working with these filmmakers is also fulfilling his, that need for connection. So everything kind of worked together, and truly it was a collaborative, fun experience.
Where does Henry begin and Shawn, or where the two of you meet, and where do you guys differ apart?
Me and Henry are very similar in that we were always brought up to lift others and put ourselves down. And this is very cultural, coming from like a Chinese culture.
Sure.
So at the beginning, Henry's whole thing about being a rental friend is that he feels like he's good at it. He's very good at validating people, providing connection, and lifting people up. But at the end, he realizes actually he's lonely himself, and he needs that companionship. That's maybe this is one way for him to be able to feel that connection. Where we are also similar is that at the time when I was making this, I mentioned I felt very isolated and lonely, and I
Yeah.
desperately wanted that connection. I think where we're different is our connection with our mom. Henry, the character, has a very complicated past with his father, his mother, and his personal relationships, which I have yet to explore. Hopefully, in season two, are not going that well. Therefore, he needs to be a rental friend in order to discover what it means to be in a relationship. My own relationship with my parents are fortunately very good. And my personal relationship with my close friends are very good as well. So I think that's where we differ. But um, through his character, I became very interested in how people relate to each other, and how relating to each other that creates not only, yes, that satisfaction from connection, but also perhaps conflict as well.
So, in working with other actors and creatives in this process, what have they given to you that you didn't expect?
Just the sheer pure enjoyment, excitement, and openness.
Hmm.
And I would say this experience has been the best so far in my life, of working with other actors and everybody on set who came to this project with such excitement about the story.
Mm.
And then it was a very tough few days of shooting, but our co-director and everybody on set, the assistant director, the camera, the DP, and the other actors, we just all came to this with an open mind. And that was because going into it, I was like super stressed out, like, oh, this is a big feat, like trying to shoot all these episodes in 5 days. Is this even going to work? But they have made it so much easier, so much more fun. And that was truly a big surprise. And I'm forever very grateful for that.
I'm curious too. In preparing for this, did you actually partake in this phenomenon? Did you rent a friend for an hour to kind of get an idea of what it was?
No, I didn't go out and rent a friend, but this rental friendship concept, it kind of originated from Japan, Tokyo, Japan.
Yeah, yeah,
And I lived in Japan for many years, actually. That's where I went to college, and I worked there for a little bit. It did give me, like, this whole concept of renting or paying money for a particular service. It's been
yeah.
around for a very long time. And the rental family thing is more or less recent, but I would still say it's very still on the fringes there, meaning like, not everybody left and right is renting friends,
Right,
right?
right.
But it's more or less relatively, I guess, accepted or a thing there. So it got me really thinking about the motivations and the wants and needs and how society is over there. What makes one go about going through rental friendship service to rent a friend? So this all came about from, I guess, that curiosity, as well as the Conan segment. I'm not sure if you saw that segment on
Uh-huh.
Conan where he goes to Japan and he rents like I think a wife and a
Yeah, yeah,
father-in-law and a daughter or
yeah.
something. It was a comedic take on a phenomenon, but also it kind of made me curious as to kind of understand the really deep human motivations that we all share for wanting that certain type of companionship. And sometimes just the way things in life are, it doesn't allow one the time or the space to be able to develop or keep authentic relationships. So like those are the questions that kind of came up and that I really wanted to explore.
Henry strikes me as a very careful person, right? Somebody who thinks before he acts, kind of, because he's trying to deflect kindness, and when the filmmakers try to put him in a corner, he thinks about it, and then he reacts with it, you know, as a guard almost to not revealing something about himself. He reacts with a kind word about them and kind of turns it around on them. Was there a different version of Henry we didn't get to see because this is the better way than turned out to be?
This is definitely through the writing process, me sitting down with my friend Sherry, the assistant director, months before we started shooting, as well as with Henry, the co-director, kind of exploring the character where we felt like at the beginning, Henry's kindness, his raising other people up, that is kind of like a mask to mask all the vulnerabilities and
Yeah.
the his traumatic past and all the disappointments in his life. And throughout the episodes, you see that kind of the mask starting to come down. And finally, episode 5, he does become vulnerable and reveal a bit more about himself. And that was definitely something we wanted to go for, that arc of Henry going from all masked up, all smiles, to slowly not everything is all peachy and nice and great. So we really do see that humanity in him. Yeah, because that's just human beings, right? We all have those kind of different experiences.
For the process too, you going in with other actors and you're giving them carte blanche to kind of react as the moment strikes them, keeping in character as Henry. I have to imagine there was some discipline that you had to employ in that aspect as well, because
Yeah,
you're not trying to reveal anything to them, you're trying to be there for them, right?
exactly, exactly. And one thing I wanted to also play with is how does his interactions between him and his clients, how does that affect him in the interview process?
Sure.
And at the, throughout each episode with each client, he does become more vulnerable, and then his last client, Sam, asked him, "Hey, do you have someone you're sitting on the bench with?" And he
Mm,
says no. And in the interview scene, he realizes that. It's
yeah.
like, wow, I'm not as put together or as complete as I thought. I thought I was the one able to give all of my happiness and joy to other people. It turns out that's not the case. It turns out that they're actually providing me, with something. So we really wanted to play with this idea.
How many of these do you have in the can? How much of it do you have planned out? What are your hopes for going forward?
So we have 5 episodes shot, and then going forward, um, I'm looking for collaborators to perhaps, uh, to work with to go into maybe a season 2 where we explore more of Henry's inner life. Maybe dedicating one episode into the logistics that he has to go through to be a rental friend. How does he become one, right? And then perhaps exploring his personal relationships more.
Mm.
And how does his continuing rental friendship service, how does that inform his personal relationships? So yeah, it's a work in progress. Hopefully there will be a season 2. And yeah, and hopefully we'll continue this journey on exploring his own journey of rental friendship. So
How much does it mean to you that right now we're in such a bleak world where the world has kind of not been nice, and this year has not been nice to a lot of my friends and myself, and there's this ounce of kindness that this comes from this. I mean, that there's a subtextual element to this that if you just let it absorb you, you kind of feel it, right? And how much of that was important for you to come across on the screen for this moment in this time?
Sometimes I feel like the characters in the series, all they want is that little thing. It doesn't have to be too much, just that little recognition. Maybe it's a little say, yes, you can do it. Or the episode two, like, no, I like your muffins and how they taste. Or maybe a small physical contact, or just in episode five, being with Sam, not talking, not doing anything.
Right.
It doesn't it just takes that little gesture of kindness to really, I think, make a difference in someone's day. And then certainly, if someone's kind to me, just that little gesture, it completely changes my entire mood and feeling. And in this digital age where we're going towards a direction where, you know, we're isolated and it's so much easier to like someone's picture than to pick up a phone and be like, hey, I want to just see how you're doing, have a good day. I think it's even more important for us just to do that one little thing to people close to you, to a stranger on the street, to help each other through this difficult time that we're going through.
As an actor, I would imagine too that part of this process for you was taking control of your own destiny. Is that fair to say?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think, yeah, for sure.
Has your perspective changed a little bit? Are you more apt to kind of want to just do more things for your own sake, or are you feeling like you're developing enough relationships where you can blossom out as an actor and do more things that you're hoping to?
That's a really good question. When I first, mostly I'm an actor, and then, for a while I was just like, I'm just gonna be an actor. I'm just gonna be in other people's projects, but
Yeah.
no one was calling me. So. And then after, the pandemic was just like, you reach a certain point where you're like, you know what, I'm an actor, but also we're in the same space together as really just the storyteller and filmmaker. And if there's unique perspectives or something you're dying to express, right? It's like I started to kind of remove that label from myself, be like, yes, I want to act, but how can I more importantly, get like-minded people together and make something amazing and relatable and fun, and that experience, it will always stay with me for the rest of my journey.
Well, you've done this independently now. So what do you love about being an independent filmmaker? What is it about independence that you've enjoyed?
Freedom.
Yeah.
Um, the freedom to express and to be provided with a stage for that expression. Where I feel like in the past, many, many years ago, it's like the green light, red light thing, right? Like, oh, I
Yeah.
have this idea, but how can I express it? I gotta wait for that green light. Now, thanks to Dances with Film, festivals slowly having these episodic, categories, the kind of more indie direction we're heading towards, and the different platforms out there, streaming platforms, Asian American, they just first came out with the Asian American network called Joy Sauce. Different platforms are coming up for us to be able to express ourselves. And that the indie filmmaking process gives me that freedom. Finally, I don't have to sit around and just wait. I can basically put pen to paper and start creating something and find a target audience, basically. So very liberating and very, very grateful.